Hello. I believe we are beginning our first class together. I am Jeff Parmalee. Call me Dr. Parmalee, Professor Parmalee, or Jeff is absolutely fine. And I was asked to teach pathophysiology, and I thought it would be in person in Portland twice a week. Fun, I'd rather have that, but we shall make a do with what we have here. And so I will record lectures for you. This is an introductory one, and then we will make our way through pathophysiology. Great stuff. I've taught anatomy physiology at uni for 7 or 8 years. And during each of the systems, we talk about pathologies. So talk about stroke and heart attack, and MS and cystic fibrosis, depending on the topic. And now we get to just focus on that. So great stuff. It's about 25 of you in the class. Pre-PA, a couple exercise science, and then mostly nursing. So if I talk about things in a nursing situation and you're not going to nursing, just health in general, you're all interested in that. So let's begin. All right, so indeed, it's a weird time, very strange time. And I taught, interestingly, a senior seminar on disease and culture. And so it's interesting to live through a pandemic like this that we're living through right now, and how society and culture is adapting to that, and adapting poorly in many cases. But in this short introductory lecture, I will talk about myself, so you get to know me a little bit. Be more fun in person, of course. And then we're not going to review anatomy physiology, maybe parts of it a little bit, but it's up to you guys to go back, make sure you're ready for how the kidney functions, structure of skin, all these things you all should have passed. Indeed. And then big picture things, talk about that. And then the syllabus is there for you. It's on either Blackboard or this Navigate 2 platform. You can look at that. But I'll talk about grading and how the course is going to be done, and how you can succeed. A class like pathophysiology, content heavy, a lot you're going to learn. And in summer, it's even condensed into 6 weeks. So you need to make it a job to put the time in consistently. You can't cram this stuff. It's just too much. Not only will you do poorly, even if you do well, you somehow make it through the tests. This course is foundational. It's just so important for a nurse or anyone in any kind of healthcare. If you just don't learn this now, you're gonna not be happy later on when you're gonna delve into this in more detail and in real life. So, and it's fascinating, great stuff. Yeah. Well, I have a PhD. I study ecology, evolution, and anatomy, but I am married to Lindsay, who is a pharmacist at Portsmouth Regional Hospital, just finishing her residency, a year-long residency. So I get a lot of information about drugs and how hospitals run and things like that. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. I just took this picture. It was last week, some brook trout. So personally, I love the outdoors, hunting and fishing, and I got a boat, do some lobstering, got a motorcycle and canoe, like being out there. Made these Adirondack chairs. I'm sitting in one right now. And my research interests are herpetology, reptiles and amphibians. So this is from about a month ago, the spotted salamander. They're crossing the roads to get to the ponds, and now you can find their eggs and their little larvae soon in there. So my interests are in salamanders and snakes and frogs and turtles. It's kind of my main interest, but all of nature really. So yeah, I was a biology major at Illinois Wesleyan. I thought, oh, I'll be pre-med, that sounds good, and got into that. And organic chemistry was not my favorite. I'm just gonna put that out there. And didn't have a great desire to help people. Hoping you guys have a little more of that, help sick people. But so I decided I'll just keep going to school. You know, I like studying biology. So I went and got my master's at Illinois State, and then eventually wanted to get my PhD at the University of Kansas. And at both of my graduate level institutions, I taught gross anatomy. So I was paid to teach cadaver lab, and yeah, so I've been doing it a long, long time. And again, my dissertation was on tropical frogs and from Peru and their ecology and anatomy, how they all interact in their community. And I have radio-tracked rattlesnakes. Here I am doing surgery and planting a radio transmitter in one, and studied ponds and how they act as for amphibian breeding, and that. Wrote a paper on turtle nests. So that's kind of my interest. But I've taught, again, anatomy physiology, which is the basis for pathophysiology. You got to understand the normal anatomy physiology to understand when there's a disease state. And you can see gross human, dissected many, many cadavers. And comparative anatomy, where we dissect sharks and salamanders and birds and look at anatomy in an evolutionary context, which we show with human anatomy as well. We're just one organism among the millions here on Earth. Histology, I've taught that with microscopic anatomy. And then, of course, lots of biology, basics and evolution. And I kind of have interests in, you see, I teach a lot of different courses. So broadly trained biologist, but most of my bread and butter has been in anatomy type subjects and health. And of course, I love to travel. I've taken students on, we went to Australia, it's like 30 students, and scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef. I've been an advisor to a scuba diver club here, scuba diving club at UNE for a while. And I've taken students to Borneo, Madagascar, twice to the Galapagos Islands and to Costa Rica. So I love the tropics, lived in Brazil when I was a kid, and biology and nature. So yeah, here's some histology. And a pathologist is also a type of medical specialty. And the ones I'm familiar with work in the dungeon of the hospital, looking at slides that are taken from patients, and they determine if they're cancerous or what's wrong with those tissues. They just transcribe, they just speak, and someone else, will type that all up for them. So I'll show you a couple examples early on. I use this in my A&P class. Here's a liver from a cadaver. You can see it's not normal. Normally it'd be smooth, and this has all these bumps on it. This is a cirrhosis of the liver. You have connective tissue replacing the normal liver tissue. There's another liver, and we're seeing our areas of cancer. You can see cancer just taking over. And we're going to talk that pretty quickly here. This first week, we begin talking about neoplasms, or at least the cancer. And it doesn't, give off a particular toxin to kill you, but it takes over normal tissue. And the more progressive it becomes, the less you have normal liver to work, and you need a liver to survive. So A&P is anatomy. We're getting more into microscopic anatomy, but you don't really discover new bones too often, right? Or some new organ. Physiology, on the other hand, is progressing rapidly. All kinds of new discoveries. The more detail, the better our instruments get. We learn more about the genes and how they influence physiology and the chemistry of it. And so a pathology is a disease. Pathology is something abnormal, a condition that's going to cause a negative effect. And you see we'll get into that, of course. And pathophysiology looks at that functional change in a disease state, what's going on. And the practice of medicine is to intervene, to reverse or at least try to stop this normal course of a pathology. Pam. Kind of had a crush on Pam, have in the office. But I just want to point out here, on a big picture, this first kind of introduction is that you can't look at our body as perfection. us being at the top of some ladder of life where there can't be any mistakes, because we're not. We are a product of millions of years of evolution, and most people, like 80% of people, see a doctor for back pain and knee pain because walking upright is a relatively new thing. It puts a lot of pressure on our lower back, and our jaws don't hold all the teeth often that we have. And so it's a lot of the physiological processes seem backwards and convoluted. But the point is that we work, and it's amazing. I mean, the structure of the human eye, the heart, and the chemistry of it is just amazing. But if you're going to try to look for an attitude that we are perfect and that everything has been designed, you're going to be disappointed. We work, and that's what it's about. As long as we work and have babies, we will continue to survive. What we can't do is just stop life, get new blueprints, and begin from there. It's like trying to work on a car that has to be kept running, you know? So we tinker with what we have, but we can't stop and revamp it. And I bring this up in my A&P class too, is when you look at the keyboard that you guys are in front of right now, look down at it. What's the row of letters? Q, W, E, R, T, Y, etc. You think to yourself, well, it's not A, B, C, A through Z, so someone must have come up with this configuration of letters, right? And well, it must be the most efficient, right? If you think about your fingers, probably that home row, the middle, is the letters you use the most. Most people are right-handed, and your index and your middle finger are stronger than your pinky finger. So let's put the letters we use the most here in our words, and like the letters we don't use can be like the pinky where we have to reach, right? Yeah. What if I told you this was purposely set up to be not the most efficient? Like, well, that's stupid. Why would we do that? Well, it was made in the 1800s, this configuration of letters for these typewriters. And if you try to type really quickly on these old-fashioned typewriters, the bars will stick, and you have to stop, bring them back, and you can continue typing. And so they put like the T and the H you use a lot together. They separate them so it actually slowed down the typist. We say, okay, we don't use these anymore. We use computers, and we can't type fast enough that the computer can't follow us. So surely we came up with something better. And we did. I mean, this Dvorak keyboard, you can order these online. This puts your most often letters on your strong hand in the home row. And it's a lot of work went into to figuring out what, when we use language, what's going to cause the least amount of movement in our fingers. And we came up with this efficient keyboard. Why don't we use it? It's the same reason we don't use the metric system. Like the US and England, we use, 5/16 of an inch. This is ridiculous, and miles and gallons, all these things. So we should be using liters and millimeters and kilometers. But the deal is, to do that would cause so much pain initially to move to that new system. And it's much like I'm talking with the human body. There's more efficient ways of doing things, but this is working. It works, so we keep doing it. Indeed. All right, so teaching this class, this is a pile of books on my desk. Just I had to come up with a good text, and I think I did. This one here, you can see how thick it is. You can have pathophysiology texts that are 4 times wider than this, so a lot bigger. So I picked one that's not the shortest, but it's going to be concise, that we can get through in 6 weeks, that is good, that is thorough, and it uses good pedagogy, good teaching materials that are available online, and that has some resources for you guys. So I'm happy with it. I'm excited to get through this whole book, cover to cover, 6 weeks. Let's see how many pages this is. Oh, Jesus. 500 some pages, 6 weeks. Yeah, you guys got some reading to do. I mean, there are pictures in it, and a lot of those pages are quiz questions, etc. So good stuff. Get used to this. Now, what do you need? You don't have to get the paper version, although you can. Some people prefer that. But if you go to this website here, you can immediately get access to the ebook. And if you buy this kind of book, it has to have a code ready for you guys to use. So most importantly, you need that to sign up for the class, the navigate to, so that you're part of the class and that you can take the quizzes, take the tests, read the chapters, all these things like that. So you want to sign up, all of you, immediately for that class. And luckily in today's digital world, you can do it immediately and have it, you're ready to go. And here are our topics. Great stuff. We'll see near the end how we're going. I could, cut out some if I feel like it later on, but this is the plan. We're gonna hit, you can see all the organ systems. In the beginning, the important thing is that we get the same lexicon, the same vocabulary, that we can be able to talk about disease, and we'll talk about diagnostic processes and MRIs and lab tests and things like that. And then we can start talk about basically disease like inflammation, and then neoplasia or cancers, and then we can go system by system and cover them. Beautiful. Look at that. We'll talk about heart and lungs, respiratory tract, GI tract, gallbladder, kidneys, genitals, breast, skin, bones, all the way down to mental illness, etc. Now, in terms of the grading, I could have had an exam every week or just had a midterm and a final, and I split the difference every 2 weeks an exam. That's going to make up most of your grade. You can see there's 30 chapters. Each chapter will have a short quiz with it. That'll make up the rest of the grade. So no papers, no projects, anything like that. It's going to be you guys getting down, learning these things, and so you can do well in the tests and quizzes. So there's the split right there. And I can go to the website with you guys. Let's see. There you go. You'll have a password, everything set up. And we'll look at this from a student perspective. All right, so you're going to see my name up there. So it's important. Probably you know you're in the right class. And then the lessons is what we're going to go through. And then you can look at your grades. And then here's ebook study center. Yes. But at the very bottom, I put one that has the syllabus on it. So you can print that off if you like, or just take a look at it. And then you can see we have the 30 chapters. A&P review, they put something together there. You can just look at your A&P book and go through, review each system before we get into the pathology of it. They put some animations that are found there. You can take a look at. But so for instance, chapter 1. I put some pictures and give a little interest to it. And then the learning objectives and the lecture outline are just taken right from the book, right from the chapters. There's nothing unique about that. But here's the book. You'll be able to go to it. You can highlight it, search for things, hyperlinks that define things. So it's beautifully done. And then they have flashcards. It's going somewhere. Flashcards help you study. They made some right there. Any links, I could add some there if I see something I like. And then each chapter will have a quiz. You can see it's available starting Monday at 8 a.m. until 1 week from that at midnight. And so you got to make sure you do it within that time period to get that grade. Yeah, and so you guys, and we'll also have on here, we'll have my lecture. And so there'll be a link, and I'll put it, it'll be a Zoom link. You can watch it, or I think I put it also on my YouTube channel, so you could just subscribe to that. And so if you're on your TV, you can just go to YouTube and watch it there. It's gonna be the same thing. So yeah, that's the plan. You guys read the chapter, you listen to my lecture, use flashcards, take notes in the ebook, and prepare yourself for the tests and quizzes. All right, here I am again. I'm on my porch, by the way. I'll talk about strategies at the end. All right, well, not going to review all of A&P here, but just bringing up some important points in this introductory lecture on how modern health and science are based on evidence, all right, not authority. So if you remember the anatomy world, Galen, he was a physician to the gladiators, and he published a book that stood for 1,000 years as being the book. And whenever dissectors would find something off, different than Galen, like, oh, well, it must be a variation. We must have made a mistake because Galen couldn't have made a mistake. So kind of like the Bible is looking at authority where you don't question it. That's not how we do science. It's not how we do health. If someone told you a cure to snake bite is cutting off the end of your little finger, like, well, how does that work? It doesn't matter. The most famous physician in the world, he says it works, and so we must do it because we really believe it works because he believes it works. You know, no one would accept that, right? You need studies. Show me a group that has had their finger cut off and not, and how well they've, the data that how well they've both recovered. So that's the way we do things. And Vesalius here was an anatomist who in the 1500s corrected Galen's mistakes. He based it on real dissections of people, and so it was accurate. And this is painting by Rembrandt, the dissection. And today we got all kinds of modern tools. And you guys, when you're studying this pathophysiology, don't feel like you're cheating on me by like searching on YouTube for different things. That's great. There's so much out there. And again, don't just Google anything. Like Google vaccines, you're getting all kinds of crap out there about it's bullshit. But you want to look at things that are obviously that are made by educators and governmental agencies. But you'll you can look up anything. So like, let's say you don't really get the kidney physiology, and then you don't even get it listening to me. Then go ahead and you can use all kinds of references. There's so much out there for you, which is nice. Didn't have that when I took this. And where we see advances, really, when you think about how we gain knowledge in science, you're like, oh, it must be exponential, right? We're learning so much more. It builds on each other. But really, if you look at it, it's more like this. It is upward, but it has these periods of rapid gains in our knowledge. And what happens at these times, just before these, very rapid gains, is usually the discovery of a new technology or even a new idea. And so we knew about natural history. We studied all plants and shells. And then Darwin came up with evolution. Like, oh, so much makes sense. And it really brought our knowledge very rapidly after that period. Or the discovery of the microscope. And then people use that and learn so much. And then we discovered the electron microscope. We invented it. And then we learned so much rapidly. So our knowledge grows and grows and grows. But it's often in these kind of spurts like that. And of course, the most exciting thing now is using DNA and genes. Even pharmacy, we're going to look back and say, oh, use the same drug for all these people who have the same disease. When we really want to look at genotype specific, we're going to be looking at what genes you have and see what medicines are most useful for you. We'll look at chemotherapy and like, God, that was barbaric, the way we gave these toxins cause all these bad side effects. In the future, be more targeted. We'll look at a person's genotype. We'll bring the poison right to the cells it needs to be at. So, very exciting time for you guys to be in health. We're learning things so quickly. So yeah, we'll go through all these systems. I'm excited to learn the major diseases in all these systems. I'll give you guys a really a head start in what you're going to encounter in real life, from skin issues, muscle, bone, nerves, including mental illness, endocrine system. We'll look at glandular issues, and of course, a big killer of people, circulatory system, right? Heart, stroke, atherosclerosis. Lymphatic, I don't think there's a chapter on lymphatic in your book, but we'll talk about lymph nodes and the spleen, I'm sure. Another big killer is respiratory system, right? COPD, emphysema, asthma, lung cancer, all these things we'll look at. Digestive organs, and urinary kidneys. CKD is chronic kidney disease, a big killer, you'll see that. You don't live long without your kidney or your liver. And the last system, reproductive system, is it's different than the others. You can live without it. The other systems are all interrelated, they support each other, you can live without a reproductive system. But in one sense, it's the only one that really matters. I'll tell you this, and it's disturbing to some people. They're like, oh, my friend's dying. You're dying. We're all dying. It just matters how quickly, right? You guys are only on this earth a short amount of time. You will die, and your molecules will be returned to the environment to be used somewhere else. Your genes may live on. If you have kids, or if your relatives have kids, those genes will be passed on. So one way of thinking of it is that your genes, your DNA is using you to make more copies of itself. Okay, so important things to know. And big picture, looking at your whole body, you're made of trillions of cells, and these cells need to be babied. They've got to be at the right temperature for their chemical reactions. pH has got to be just right, between 7.35 and 7.45, or else you die. It has the right amount of glucose and oxygen, and the waste have to be carried away. So that's your body, and your cells have to be babied. And when you look at it, your digestive system from mouth to anus is just a tube. It's open on either end. So if you swallow something, it's not in your body, only until it gets absorbed into your bloodstream. That's in your body. And notice your cardiovascular system is really at the center of it all. It's going to carry those nutrients to the cells. And then your respiratory system, you can think of that as a big sheet of wet saran wrap with blood running underneath it, the size of half a tennis court. So there's a lot of surface area to diffuse oxygen and carbon dioxide. And then your kidneys, they only weigh like 1% of your body weight, but they get a quarter of your blood flow from your heart with each beat. And so they use that blood pressure to filter that blood, to get rid of wastes, and also to regulate your body water and electrolytes. Pretty amazing. Whether you drink a couple gallons of water or just one tiny glass, you pee out the right amount every single day, or else you blow up or shrink like a raisin. So kidneys are critical in your homeostasis. And then there's the cells, and the blood stays in capillaries, and the fluid comes out with the oxygen, with the nutrients, and then the fluid comes back in, right? So fluid washes over the cells, the blood stays in the vessels, but it is the delivery system. That's your body, just basically, just the basics. And then we can get to all the complexities. And the key word here in pathophysiology and life is homeostasis, is maintaining that environment, that temperature and all the chemicals and salinity. Everything's got to be right in your body. And when you have a pathology, it throws it off, and your body has to adapt and react. Yeah. And looking, you can look at a thermostat or look at the thermostat in your body, right? You have in your hypothalamus a thermostat that's set at body temperature. And if you guys get too high, you get a fever, you're going to start shunting blood to your skin, so you turn all red, start sweating, try to get rid of that heat. And if you're too cold, your body is going to shunt blood to your core, away from your extremities, maybe shiver. So it's going to keep, it's called negative feedback to keep your homeostasis. And disease states will be trying to throw that off, and your body has to react. All right, just as a reminder, we can, if a patient comes in, talks about that pain in the upper right quadrant, or got a stab wound in the lower left, and a rash here. There's ways to describe it from your umbilicus or your belly button. You can do 4 quadrants, or get into 9 specific areas to help describe these things. And then aging. In this class, makes a big difference to your patient, whether they're young or old. In pharmacy, how they metabolize drugs, how they heal bones, skin. It's a big difference between a young person and an elderly person. And you can see how the integumentary, the skin, really shows your age, and hair is an accessory of that. And this aging takes place at the cellular level. You have telomeres, the end of your DNA get shorter. You have a buildup of materials in your cells as they age. And then looking at the systems, your kidney function, your heart function, your percentage of body fat, all these things change with age and are important to keep in mind. All right, lastly, how can you succeed? And how can you should enjoy this. I mean, it's work, yes, but it's learning about you know, the diseases of your whole body. It's great, great stuff. And what pathology is, pathophysiology is looking at when your body is assaulted with some kind of disease, whether you're getting an infection or whether it's cancer, your body is going to have to react to that. Yes, so there's not some concepts, like some people, you don't get the math, you don't get some of the physics concepts. There's not a lot of that, as opposed to just being a lot of content. You know, I'll hit you with vocabulary in the beginning, and then we're going to go through just all these disease states. So it's something you just want to learn. You got to be motivated to get in there and just keep hitting it, studying it time after time. There's no way you can cram. And again, whether you guys, you know, this is for you to learn this. It's not for me. I mean, I don't get paid more whether you guys do well or not well in the class. You know, I'm here because I want you guys to do well for you. This is not something if you just try to skate through it or try to cram, it's not going to help you. You know, it's not like this is a class just to take to check it off my list. This is something that is should be part of what's going to mold you for the rest of your life. Oh, damn, sounds serious, huh? And then anatomy physiology is the basis for this. And so you're going to review that. Hopefully it's a little late now, but hopefully you studied in that class, so you learned it. And yeah. And lastly, this is part of it too, is that it's not about memorization. I mean, you can memorize multiplication tables, things like that, but here you need to understand what's going on. And I'm here for you too. I want to make that clear. You guys, please just, if you don't understand something, just send me a message and we can Zoom. I can put up the whiteboard, I can draw things up. I'm happy to do that. And anytime too, weekend, day, night. I mean, times don't mean anything. I'm with you guys for 6 weeks. You can catch me anytime and I'm happy to talk to you. It'd be great to get some human contact. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very happy. Outside is nice in the summer, but again, I'm here for you guys. I'd love to help you one-on-one or anything that you want me to explain. Happy to do that. And this is going to build on each other too. You need to pay attention and learn it, because if you just don't learn something later on, it's going to hurt you. And so just take it step by step. And you can see when you do a nursing intervention, you understand why you're doing it. What's the reasoning behind the pathophysiology? You know, you want to know why you're doing something, and it'll make things make more sense and prevent you from making some dumb errors. All right. There we go. Think about any other words of wisdom. Hopefully you enjoyed this big picture. And I'll have for you lectures on the first few chapters. We'll get to it. You guys just study it, so we're gonna have a good time. I wish it was in person, of course, but we'll make do, and I'm excited. So thanks, you guys.